39% of working Americans now have a side hustle. That is roughly 80 million people. And when you include selling online or answering surveys, that number climbs as high as 93%. This is not a side project anymore. It is how a huge share of the country actually pays its bills. Here is the number that matters most for this video. Collectively, Americans are generating about $83 billion a month in extra income through side hustles, and 73% say they are doing it out of financial necessity, not passion, not for fun money. They are doing it to survive rising costs. So today, there is no fluff and no believe in yourself filler. I am giving you real, zero investment side hustles that are actually working in 2026. I will tell you what they realistically pay. I will tell you how long they take to become real money. And just as important, I will tell you which popular ideas are quietly wasting people's time. Let's get into it. Before the list, one thing needs to be said clearly, because most side hustle content skips it. Profit is not revenue. What matters is not how much money comes in. It is what is left after you subtract your time, your tools, and your energy. A side hustle that makes $500 a month but eats 80 hours of your time is not actually profitable. It just feels like it is. Real data backs this up. One documented case study tracked 10 different zero-investment side hustles over 8 months. It landed on roughly $3,200 total. That is about $400 a month on average. That is not enough to quit a job, but it is enough to cover a car repair or a dental bill without going into debt. That is the realistic bar for most people starting from zero. And it is a genuinely useful bar to hit. Anyone promising you thousands in your first month with zero investment and zero skills is selling a dream, not a side hustle. With that honesty out of the way, here is what is actually working right now. Let's start with Tier 1, the fastest path to your first dollar. These will not make you rich, but they can put real money in your account within days, which matters if you need a buffer now, not in 6 months. First, micro-task and survey platforms. These pay small amounts per task, but the barrier to entry is zero. No skills, no portfolio, no pitching. The honest limitation is that task availability is inconsistent. Some weeks you will get plenty of work, and other weeks almost nothing. Treat this as supplemental income, not a core income stream. Next, local task and errand work. Pet sitting, house sitting, grocery delivery, and rideshare or food delivery all require essentially no startup cost. You use what you already own, a phone and maybe a car. These platforms pay out fast, often within a day or two. That makes them genuinely useful when you need cash quickly rather than in a month. Third, reselling and flipping. You find underpriced items at thrift stores, clearance sections, or garage sales, and resell them online. This costs nothing but your time and a bit of research into what sells. People who enjoy the hunt tend to stick with this longer than people who do not. And that consistency is what actually drives income here. Now let's move to Tier 2, the skills you already have. This tier pays meaningfully more, but it takes longer to ramp up. Expect weeks, not days, before the first real payment lands. First, freelance writing. If you can already write clearly, this remains one of the most reliable zero-investment side hustles on the internet. There is genuinely no investment required beyond your existing laptop. Here is the real shift in 2026. Generalists are losing ground fast. The writers earning real, consistent income are specialists. They pick one niche and know it better than a generic AI output can fake. Expect the first 30 days to be mostly unpaid groundwork. You will build a small portfolio, pitch, and get rejected. After that initial push, Income tends to become real and consistent for people who stick with a niche. Second, virtual assistant work, email management, scheduling, data entry, and basic bookkeeping. It is boring work, but boring pays reliably. One documented case generated $2,800 a month doing bookkeeping-focused virtual assistant work for small businesses. It was built from zero investment. The hard part is not the work itself. It is landing that first client. Most of these gigs go to people with an existing reputation or a referral. So cold pitching in relevant Facebook groups or LinkedIn communities tends to outperform cold job board applications. Third, social media management and consulting. Companies are constantly looking for people who can grow engagement and manage their online presence. If you already understand how a platform's algorithm behaves, that knowledge has real market value. Again, zero investment is required to start offering it. Fourth, AI-enhanced freelancing. This is one of the newer categories gaining real traction in 2026. It is not about generating AI content and reselling it raw. That market is already flooded and low value. The actual edge is judgment. It is knowing how to prompt well, refine rough AI output, and add human taste that clients cannot get from a raw AI tool themselves. Freelancers who package this into repeatable premium service templates are commanding real rates for it. Now we reach Tier 3, the highest ceiling with the slowest start. These take real patience, months rather than weeks, but the income ceiling is significantly higher, and once built, several of these become closer to passive. First, property co-hosting. One widely documented case started with literally zero investment. The person reached out directly to landlords whose Airbnb listings were not performing. They offered to manage the listing and guest communication in exchange for a percentage of booking revenue starting around 20%. That specific business has since generated millions in booking fees. You do not need to own property to make money from short-term rentals. You need to be good at managing them for people who do. Second, digital products, templates, resume and cover letter kits, presets, planners, or short guides. These cost nothing to create beyond your time and a free or low-cost platform to sell them on. The advantage is that you build it once and it can keep generating income with minimal ongoing effort. This is the closest thing to genuinely passive income on the entire list. Third, faceless YouTube or content channels. This has one of the highest income ceilings on this list. Realistically, that is $2,000 to $20,000 or more a month once established. But it is also the slowest to become profitable. It often takes 3 to 6 months of consistent output before real revenue shows up. It requires no on-camera presence, which is exactly why it is accessible with zero investment. You need a script, a voiceover tool, and stock or AI-generated visuals. The trade-off is patience. This is a compounding asset, not a quick cash hustle. Fourth, niche audience building. Building a general personal finance or fitness audience in 2026 is brutal. Those spaces are saturated. But building one around a specific narrow slice of a niche is genuinely doable. The smaller and more specific the audience, the less competition you face for their attention. So what actually determines success? Here is the pattern across every real case study on this list. The side hustles that stuck were not necessarily the highest paying ones. They were the ones that fit the person's actual life. Couch-friendly work fit someone with an unpredictable schedule. Writing worked because the skill already existed. Reselling worked because the person genuinely enjoyed searching for deals. The ones that failed were not bad ideas. They fought against the person's schedule and existing skills. So before you pick a hustle from this list, be honest about your own life. Look at your real schedule, your existing skills, and the things you actually enjoy doing. Match the hustle to that reality, not to the biggest number on the screen. Start with Tier 1 if you need cash this week. Build Tier 2 if you have a skill worth selling. And plant a Tier 3 seed if you can be patient for a few months. The realistic goal for most people starting from zero is a few $100s a month. That is not glamorous, but it is real, and it is enough to change how a tight month feels. Pick one, start this week, and give it an honest run before you judge it.